Hey there, upgraders. Roquinia here, and I need to share something that's going to completely reframe how you think about training plateaus. Right now, there are millions of people stuck in fitness purgatory. They're showing up, doing the work, following their programs to the letter, and getting absolutely nowhere. The scale hasn't moved in weeks. The barbell feels heavier than it did a month ago. Their running pace has actually gotten slower, despite consistent training. And here's what everyone tells them: just push harder, add more volume, cut more calories. You're not trying hard enough. This advice isn't just wrong, it's the exact opposite of what the science tells us to do. Today, we're diving into the Plateau Paradox, and by the end of this episode, you'll understand why plateaus aren't a sign of weakness, but a testament to your body's incredible efficiency. You'll learn why doing more often leads to less, and most importantly, you'll have a systematic diagnostic framework for breaking through any stall. Let's start with the fundamental truth no one wants to admit. A plateau isn't a failure of your biological system. It's proof that it's working perfectly. Your body has reached homeostatic equilibrium with your current training stimulus. You've successfully adapted. Congratulations, you've won. And that's exactly the problem. This process is governed by Selye's general adaptation syndrome, which describes 3 stages your body goes through when faced with any stressor. First, the alarm stage. This is when you first start training. Your body recognizes the stress, releases cortisol and adrenaline, and you temporarily get weaker. Your first week in the gym, you're actually in a performance deficit. Second, the resistance stage. This is where the magic happens. Your body adapts, repairs, and comes back stronger than before. This is supercompensation, the entire goal of training. You've disrupted homeostasis and forced an adaptation. Third, the exhaustion stage. If the stress is too intense or too prolonged without adequate recovery, your resources deplete. Your hormones crash. You enter overtraining syndrome. But here's what most people miss. There's actually a hidden 4th stage that Selye didn't explicitly identify. Accommodation. This is when you stay in the resistance stage so long that your current stimulus no longer disrupts homeostasis. You're perfectly adapted to what you're doing, so there's no reason for your body to change further. The average training plateau occurs because you've become too efficient at your current workload. Your body has solved the puzzle you've been giving it. To progress, you need to change the puzzle. The research is crystal clear on how to prevent accommodation. You need systematic variation in your training stimulus. This is called periodization, and the data shows it's not just helpful, it's essential. Linear periodization, gradually increasing intensity while decreasing volume, works great for beginners. But studies show advanced lifters hit plateaus with this approach because the rate of intensity increase eventually exceeds their adaptive capacity. Enter Daily Undulating Periodization, or DUP. Instead of linear progression, you vary volume and intensity daily or weekly. Monday might be heavy triples, Wednesday, moderate sets of 8, Friday, light sets of 15. Meta-analyses show that DUP produces 17% faster strength gains than linear models when total work is equated. Why? Because you're preventing accommodation by constantly changing the stimulus. Your nervous system never fully adapts to one specific demand. But here's the next level: block periodization. You spend 2 to 8 weeks focusing intensely on one quality, like hypertrophy, then switch to another block focused on strength or power. This concentrated loading is necessary to disrupt the established homeostatic baselines of highly adapted individuals. The key insight is simple. For experienced lifters, variation isn't optional, it's mandatory. Your body is too smart to be fooled by the same stimulus repeated endlessly. Weight loss plateaus operate on a different mechanism called adaptive thermogenesis. This isn't about training adaptation, it's about survival. When you lose weight, your energy expenditure decreases more than can be explained by the loss of body mass alone. A 10% weight loss typically results in a 20 to 25% reduction in total daily energy expenditure. Your body is literally fighting to regain the weight. Here's what's happening. Leptin, your satiety hormone, plummets. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, spikes. Thyroid hormones decrease, slowing your metabolic rate. Your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, unconsciously drops. You fidget less, walk slower, even blink less frequently. Studies on contestants from The Biggest Loser found their metabolic rates were still suppressed by 500 calories per day, 6 years after the show. Their bodies never forgot the starvation state. But here's the crucial data point. While metabolic adaptation is real, it only accounts for about 100 to 200 calories per day of the slowdown. The rest comes from unconscious reductions in movement and increases in caloric intake that people don't realize are happening. The solution isn't to cut calories further, it's to increase NEAT strategically. Adding just 3,000 extra steps per day can offset most of the metabolic adaptation without triggering further defensive responses. Here's something the fitness industry doesn't want you to understand. The feasibility of simultaneous fat loss and muscle gain depends entirely on where you're starting from. If you're carrying significant body fat, over 25% for men or 35% for women, you can build muscle in a caloric deficit. Your stored energy reserves are sufficient to fuel muscle protein synthesis even while losing weight. Studies show obese beginners can gain substantial muscle while losing 20 to 30 pounds. At moderate body fat levels, 15 to 25% for men, recomposition requires surgical precision. You need maintenance calories or a tiny deficit, no more than 200 to 300 calories. Progress will be slow, maybe 0.25% of body weight per week, but it's possible with adequate protein, at least 1 gram per pound, and intelligent programming. But if you're already lean, under 12% for men or 20% for women, forget recomposition. Your hormones won't support it. Low body fat triggers a cascade of catabolic signals. Testosterone drops, cortisol rises, and your body prioritizes survival over muscle building. You need a caloric surplus to gain muscle, period. This explains why so many lean people spin their wheels trying to get leaner while building muscle. Biology has drawn a line in the sand, and you can't cross it through willpower. When progress stalls, most people's instinct is to push harder. This is exactly wrong. What you need is strategic recovery through deloading. A deload is a planned, temporary reduction in training stress, typically reducing volume by 40 to 50% for 1 week. This isn't about being lazy, it's about dissipating accumulated fatigue that's masking your true fitness. The research on this is compelling. Studies show that after a deload week, testosterone levels can increase by 15 to 20%, while cortisol drops by similar amounts. This shift from a catabolic to anabolic state is exactly what's needed to break through a plateau. But here's what's really interesting. Recent research compared traditional deloads to complete rest weeks. The complete rest group showed a slight decrease in maximal strength, but no loss in muscle size. More importantly, they showed enhanced muscle protein synthesis sensitivity when training resumed. The muscle had been resensitized to the training stimulus. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your progress is absolutely nothing. For those who've exhausted traditional progression, novel stimuli can provide the shock necessary to trigger new adaptations. Eccentric overload, emphasizing the lowering phase of a lift with 6-second negatives, increases mechanical tension and muscle damage, 2 primary drivers of hypertrophy. Studies show eccentric training can produce strength gains 20 to 30% greater than concentric-only training. Blood flow restriction training with light loads 20 to 40% of your max can stimulate similar muscle growth to heavy training with significantly less joint stress. Meta-analyses show BFR can increase muscle size by 10 to 20% in just 3 to 4 weeks. Cluster sets, introducing 15 to 30-second rest periods within a set, allow you to accumulate more volume at higher intensities. You might normally squat 315 for 5 reps. With cluster sets, you could do 8 to 10 singles with 30 seconds between, accumulating more quality volume. But here's the key. These techniques should be used strategically, not constantly. They're tools for breaking through specific plateaus, not permanent replacements for foundational training. So how do you know which solution to apply? Here's your systematic diagnostic approach. First, calculate your recent training load changes. If you've increased volume or intensity by more than 10% in the last 2 weeks, you're likely in overreaching. You need a deload, not more stimulus. Second, assess your recovery markers. If your grip strength has dropped, your resting heart rate is elevated, or your sleep quality has declined, you're under-recovered. More training won't help until you address recovery. Third, examine your training history. Have you been doing the same program for more than 8 weeks? You've likely accommodated. It's time for a periodization change. Fourth, evaluate your nutrition. If you've been in a deficit for more than 12 weeks, metabolic adaptation is guaranteed. Consider a 2-week diet break at maintenance calories to reset hormones. Finally, consider your training age. Beginners rarely plateau from accommodation. They plateau from poor recovery or technique. Advanced lifters plateau from insufficient variation or stimulus magnitude. Here's your homework for breaking through your current plateau. First, identify your plateau type. Is it strength, muscle growth, or fat loss? The solution depends on the problem. Second, if you've been training hard for more than 6 weeks without a break, implement an immediate deload. Cut volume by 40% this week while maintaining intensity. Third, after your deload, switch your periodization model. If you've been doing straight sets, try DUP. If you've been doing high reps, spend 4 weeks in the 3 to 5 rep range. Fourth, for fat loss plateaus, don't cut calories further. Instead, add 3,000 daily steps and ensure protein intake is at least 1 gram per pound. Consider a 2-week maintenance phase if you've been dieting for more than 12 weeks. Finally, track the right metrics. Stop obsessing over daily weight or weekly strength changes. Look at monthly trends. Progress isn't linear, but the trend line should be positive. Remember, a plateau isn't a wall, it's a landing on a staircase. You're not stuck, you're consolidating before the next climb. Next week, we're diving into the final frontier, optimizing sleep for recovery and performance. We'll explore why 8 hours might be wrong for you, how to manipulate sleep architecture, and the supplements that actually work versus expensive placebos. Until then, this is Roquinia reminding you that plateaus aren't failures. They're proof your body has successfully adapted. Now it's time to give it a new challenge. Keep upgrading, strategically,